Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Stomping Jen.
Oh, yes.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
We are here to record our Halloween Spooktacular.
Here I am without my candy corn.
You know what candy corn used to be called? I have a fun fact about Halloween.
Oh.
It was called chicken feed. That was a witch sound effect because this is our Halloween episode.
Okay.
So you don't have any chicken feed. You must call it chicken feed from this point forward.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Sure.
All right. Well, we've got a
I'm so off kilter already. I don't know what's happening.
We've got a crack panel.
A panel.
Of ghouls and goblins and ghosts and all sorts of things to talk to us about Halloween.
Great.
They're really just people, by the way. I couldn't get any actual monsters. That sigh tells me you're ready for me to play the intro music and get this going.
That's right.
All right. So we have some surprise guests too.
Great.
Okay. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
The Soft Serve Podcast.
Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck.
There should be some spooky sounds. You should have changed the music.
You want some spooky sounds? I've got spooky sounds. You like that?
It's not only spooky, it's very loud.
Yeah, I wasn't able to normalize all these sound effects, so I'm going to go crazy over here on my switchboard.
Oh my goodness.
That was a deliberate ploy to prevent me from singing to you, wasn't it, Stomping Jen?
For sure.
Well, I did not have a Halloween song prepared, but this is our Halloween Spooktacular episode, Stomping Jen. Let's play some
spooky music,
spooky sound effects as we're talking.
Okay.
Now
that's not the right.
In typical Halloween fashion,
yes,
I think the evil spirits were trying to interfere with us recording this episode. We had a couple of other guests scheduled to appear with us, in addition to the guests we have.
It's true.
And they fell ill.
It's true. It must have been us.
I don't think it was us. I think it was the forces of darkness interfering with the recording of the Soft Serve Podcast Halloween Spooktacular.
Oh, goodness.
Now, shall we turn to our guests and introduce them?
Yes, of course we should.
Okay. Here with us in the studio, we have the one, the only Hell Unicorn. Say hello, Hell Unicorn.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Are you ready to talk about Halloween?
Sure.
And share your thoughts about this?
Sure.
This holiday, okay. All right, you look ready. You have new red hair.
It's not
Pink.
red.
Pink. You have new pink hair, and half of it has also been dyed black. Now, did you do that in preparation for this episode? Because you knew we were recording it.
No.
Okay. Well, let's go to another guest. We also here have with us, appearing for the first time on the Soft Serve Podcast, FC Zinn, who also happens to be ringleader of the Goblin Circus.
Ooh.
Hello, FC. Oh, They're muted. Stomping Jen. Stomping Jen. What would I do without you?
I don't know what you would do
Thank you so
me.
much. FC, I am so sorry. I technologically bumbled your introduction. But how are you doing? Thank you for joining us.
Good. It is the best month of the year, so I'm in a good mood.
Ooh.
Yes, and you have a particular fondness for this Halloween. From what I understand, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
It's best time of year. I also it's an artist's time of year. That's really what I like about it. This is the one holiday where creative folk can really go all out.
That's so interesting. I don't think I've ever thought of it that way.
It's true.
That's the first time I've kind of had that idea dropped into my head. And as I contemplated, I think you're absolutely right about that.
For sure.
So we can talk more about that.
Yeah.
Now, our other guest here, you may be able to figure out who he is. He has appeared here before, but under a different name. Mm-hmm. We have Chris Denca. Hello, Chris.
Ooh, thank you for pronouncing my name correctly.
Now, you'll tell Chris is a ghost of some kind, and we're happy to see him here from the ethereal plane. Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
And in case you haven't been able to figure out, it's artist Chris Bordenca, so whose artwork hangs on the Soft Serve podcast walls. Stomping Jen.
It is true, and in other places in our house,
and in other places, and
yes,
we'll talk more. Yeah, we'll talk more about where you can see this art later.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
All right, now, as fate would have it. I'm going to have to.
Over there?
Yeah, I'm.
You sure?
Yeah, as fate would have it, the forces of darkness forced me in the last minute to learn as much as I could about this Halloween. One of our guests was going to cover the history of Halloween for us and just review it a little bit.
It's true.
And now I've been forced to do this because the evil spirits have intervened here.
Yeah, tell us all about Halloween. What do you know? What have you learned about Halloween?
Now, what's interesting is I learned that Halloween, Stomping Jen, is not an American holiday. It's not? It does not originate here. No, it does not. Where do you think it might originate?
The hell dimension? No, I'm just kidding.
The hell dimension.
Isn't it like Dutch or something?
No, it's a Celtic holiday. Now, it has a Celtic festival. It's an ancient festival dating back more than 2,000 years called Samhain.
We need our Gaelic representative.
I know. We had...
Gosh darn it.
Yeah. Lindsey the Celtic Fairy was going to walk us through this. But Lindsey's little fairies got ill, so
got little sickies,
so she couldn't be here. But yeah, this is a holiday that comes from the ancient United Kingdom in northern France. Yeah, and tell
us more.
Well, this day, the celebration typically marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark.
The dark.
Yeah, the cold winter that was to come. Now, back then, 2,000 years ago, cold weather and dark, unfortunately, had this association with death, right? So...
illnesses come out in the winter.
Yeah, and the Celts... Die. Yeah, the Celts believed that on this...
There's less food.
Yeah, right. And the Celts believed that on this day that they celebrated Samhain... that the boundary between the living world and the dead was blurred.
How is this different than Samhain?
I don't know if it is.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it is. It says Samhain here on this paper I'm reading from. But it says it's pronounced Samhain.
What?
That's what it says.
We need a proper pronunciation, doctor.
Stomping Jen.
Stat!
Yeah, I'm going off of what I'm reading here from history.com.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
History.com. Maybe we should ask our panelists what they know about Halloween.
Yeah. Do you all know anything about the history of Halloween? Because I'm struggling here.
Listen, I'm not going to get the Wiccans mad at me for getting it all wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to read a little bit more here, Stomping Jen.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you have problems with any of this...
Oh.
What?
I think our Lindsey Fairy might be able to come on.
Like right now? Because she needs to get in here.
Yes, I think...
Well, tell her to get in here and rescue me.
I think we need our fairy friend.
Yeah.
I think she heard you.
Yeah. So, maybe we'll give her a second. But it sounded like FC maybe had some idea about where Halloween might have come from.
I aside from seeing stuff on the internet with really scary looking carved turnips, I am not very familiar with the origins. Yeah, instead of pumpkins, apparently. Yeah, and so what? That's all I know.
It's more than I knew, FC. I mean, it's a lot more than I knew. So part of what the ancient Celts were afraid of is that when these boundaries between the living and dead were blurred, they thought it made it easier for these spirits
to come
over and damage their crops and do things.
So why do so many people think that Halloween is like originated in Salem, which is like the Mecca for New England?
Well,
are there a lot of Celts here?
Yeah.
In New England? Or is it like the Mayflower, New England?
There's the Boston Celtics.
The Boston Celtics.
Did they bring us Halloween?
Hell Unicorn, do you have any thoughts?
I'm pretty sure that it's people think it's from Salem because of the Salem witch trials. And that's associated with Halloween because witches, magic, burning at stakes.
Yeah. It's gruesome stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure based on what
History.com.
what I read on the History Channel's website that this goes back even further than the Salem witch trials.
Really?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to just flip through some pages here and see what we can find out about this while we're waiting for Lindsey the Celtic Fairy to come in here and rescue us. So it says here that Halloween was extremely limited in colonial America, Space Unicorn. That would be the time of the Salem witch trials. It was extremely limited.
What does that mean, extremely limited?
Well, it seems like some people knew about it, right? But due to the primarily Protestant, very conservative beliefs of the people back then, they didn't like it, right?
They weren't much into Christmas either. So anything that it was a holiday, I think there was a bit of harumphing.
Harumphing?
Yes.
Harumphing. A lot of harumphing.
Yes. And it says here that Halloween was a lot more common in Maryland and the southern colonies.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. Apparently they were a little more liberal back then down there. So,
interesting.
And more Scottish.
Mm-hmm.
So a little more close to the Celts down south.
Yep. Oh, okay. Whew. Let's see. Lindsey the Celtic Fairy is here and connecting to audio. I hope you can hear us, Lindsey the Celtic Fairy, because we are in desperate need. I have spent the last 5 minutes butchering what I believe to be the history of Halloween. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi. Let me just work with my technology here and slanjava, everyone.
Thank you. Lindsey the Celtic Fairy is drinking some sort of potion. She's sitting underneath a horn of some kind, bolted to the wall.
My bed.
Yes. Oh. Okay. Thanks for...
she is indeed a fairy of some sort.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Lindsey. So I was attempting to walk through what I believe to be the history of Halloween. And one of the reasons you wanted to come on here was because you know a thing or two about this. So I'm going to just open it up to you, and you tell us whatever you want to about this holiday that we know of as Halloween.
So I'm just going to preface this by, I know it's like in poor taste to talk about another podcast on a podcast, but pretty much everything I am going to tell you is going to come from the Stories of Scotland podcast. They did a really great podcast on the history of it and the Celtic history, which really is where it all kind of ties back. So I'm going to try to say some Gaelic words, and I apologize. So it really comes from the very ancient traditions of Samhain night, which was pagan. And then when the Catholic religion took over, they kind of merged it, as they did with many pagan traditions, with All Hallows Mass or All Saints Day. So that's kind of where we get the word Halloween. But really, a lot of the traditions are more from Samhain. And what that is basically a celebration of the harvest. And it's like a big party before you go into the second half of the year, where it's really just very dark. But like many cultures, like you have the Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, they believed that the veil between the fairy world or the spiritual world and our world was the thinnest on this night. So you get things like, people dressing up as ghosts and ghouls to actually sort of trick the fairies into thinking that you were one of them, so they didn't steal your children. So that's why you have children specifically dressing up in masks. So
they don't steal them?
Very obvious. Yes, fairies are known to be children stealers.
Don't steal my children.
I know. I have too many of my own to need anymore. But there's a lot of different things. You also have people. There is the tradition of you giving bannocks or cakes to leaving as offerings for your past relatives, which again is very similar to Dia de los Muertos, which is where they think the tradition of getting sweeties or getting treats on Halloween, the trick-or-treating, which they call geisting, which is pretty funny. So a lot of those traditions come from that, and I can speak a little bit more about that. But has anyone ever heard of that before? Does that ring a bell?
No.
Geisting?
No.
I've never heard of geisting.
No, most of what I learned was in the last 40 minutes from history.com.
I have notes that are very hastily written. Okay, I guess I'll just continue then. So in Gaelic, they call this night, let's see if I can do it, Oikiahune, which is basically a thanks for the harvest and a welcoming of the dark times. And this is what they would do. Is it was a big celebration, and then it was mostly children and young adults who were eager to enter into adulthood. They would have a big bonfire and a big feast, and they would play all these games to try to tell them more about the person they were going to fall in love with and get married. So they have you throw a shoe over a house, and whichever direction the toe is pointing, that's where your love lives. And then my favorite tradition is the kale picking.
Ooh,
so
that sounds
kale
exciting.
Is very important. Yes, right? I mean, we all love kale. Kale is very, very important to the Scottish. It's a huge part of their diet. It's one of the few things that grows there. So the tradition of kale picking is you would go sneak into a kale patch that was not your own. You can't just go out to your own kale patch. It doesn't work that way. You have to sneak in to somebody else's kale patch. And if you get caught, you're in big trouble.
I feel like that's something that could get you killed back then.
Legit. Yeah, that sounds pretty legit.
Yeah.
You don't mess with kale.
Yeah.
But you were sneaking in and you pick a piece of kale that you are drawn to, and it's supposed to tell you things about the person that you're going to fall in love with. So if you have a very long piece of kale, they're going to be tall. If you have a short piece of kale, they're going to be short. If they had like soil on their roots, that was actually a sign that they were going to be wealthy. So you would go and you'd go and you'd pick your kale. And there are people that still do it. They still do the kale picking. A lot of the traditions the people of Scotland especially are always trying to hold on to their culture, as much as they possibly can. A lot of these old traditions have come back. And so they're doing a lot of these traditional things, I think, in Scotland now. So
yeah, and now instead of the kale patch, we have the pumpkin patch over here, right?
Oh gosh, we're all full of insightfulness tonight.
Do you know where the carving of a pumpkin came from?
No.
Tell us.
Tell us.
You know what you're supposed to carve?
A turnip.
The person you want to fall in love with you?
No. Nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah.
No, so that comes back to I believe this comes back to the bonfire. So what they would do is they would all hang out around this bonfire. And then as the fire began to die down, you had like the last embers of the fire, and the children would dance on the embers of the fire. And the whole point was you had to get home before the last ember died out, or like if a child wasn't home by then and the fire died out, the fairies were just going to take them back to their realm because they were there. So you'd make a lantern to carry a piece of light with you to help protect you. And turnips, they didn't really have pumpkins. That's like, I believe pumpkins are a North American thing. Actually, they might be South American to start. So when Celtic people came to this country, they wanted to carry on these traditions and they couldn't find turnips, but there were an awful lot of pumpkins. So they started carving pumpkins instead and carrying the pumpkin lanterns. And it's actually supposed to be a lantern that you carry.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. Try carving a turnip. It's not easy.
I'm going to try.
They must have.
Yeah, I get about 30 turnips a week from our farm share.
No, you don't.
Too many turnips, so I'm going to carve one. Well, thank you for that little recap, Lindsey, the Celtic Fairy, about the history of Halloween. Now, I put out this call for people to come and join us and to talk about Halloween on our Halloween Spooktacular episode, Stomping Jen. And you all enthusiastically said yes. So I was kind of curious. I wanted to just ask you each, what is it about Halloween that excites you? And I'm gonna go to Chris Bordenca first.
So when I was growing up, my family, my father's side, they had 8 kids in their family. So I had 6 uncles, my dad, and then my aunt, and they lived in this big old house. And so growing up, it was just sort of a fact, a matter of fact, that there was a ghost in the house. It was Joe the ghost. And like when you're a kid, you just believe what people tell you. You don't question it. So like I grew up like convinced that there was this ghost in their house. And I think that's just what started sort of this fascination with the supernatural that I've kind of always had. That, and also going to Catholic school really put you in touch with supernatural weird stuff. So those things combined, I think, just kind of tripped up this switch in me where I was like, yeah, I like all this stuff. And then from then it was just horror movies at a really way too early age, just kind of all the way up until now, where I'm too much of a chicken to watch the horror movies that are coming out now. So I just read the plot synopsises on Wikipedia, but I still watch everything that I've already watched. Like I have no problem rewatching all the Friday the 13th and all the Nightmare on Elm Streets and all those, because I love those, and they're not scary. They're just fun. So yeah, I don't know. I start celebrating as soon as Stop and Shop puts the Halloween candy, which is like August 1st, that's to me Halloween. And as soon as you asked, it was, I think, early September. I'm like, yeah, I'm in. Let's talk now.
I love it. Thank you. Hell Unicorn, I want to ask you, now, when I ask you to appear on the podcast, you usually give me the side eye and give me the too cool for school. No thanks. But this episode, you said, yeah, I'll come on and talk about Halloween. What is it about Halloween that made you want to come here and talk?
First of all, you didn't tell me that we were doing a Halloween episode until I was down here. Second of all...
Yes, go on.
Wrong answer.
Second of all,
yeah.
I haven't been on the podcast in a while. I haven't sat through a podcast in a while.
But what do you love about Halloween? Do you like Halloween?
Well, yeah, I like Halloween.
What do you like about Halloween?
I like the skeletons and skulls.
Yeah.
Because when I was like younger, Sawtooth Frank put a lot of skulls around the house. Mm-hmm. We actually have a lot of them still.
Yeah, year round.
There's actually 3 to my left.
It's true.
Yeah.
So we have this big tradition of keeping these skeletons in our yard all year long.
Yeah.
So that's been one of our newer traditions, and it's just really fun to dress up and do that kind of things, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we're going to have some really very specific questions for you, so you just hang on there, okay?
Okay.
All right. FC Zinn, what is it about Halloween? Why were you compelled to say yes to and answer my call to come and talk about Halloween?
Well, it is. I think it is my favorite time of year, and Monsters and I go way back. As a little kid, it's a little odd because I was terrified of Halloween. Hated the masks, hated the skulls, hated everything about it, but loved it. So it's one of those love-hate where it's so terrifying you feel compelled to go out and experience it. And like Chris, I couldn't even handle the movies that he does watch. I can't watch those horror movies. I've never been in a haunted house because I would love to go, but they're so intense. I've been in 1 or 2 and just panicked the whole time. So Halloween is too scary for me. But it is also the one time of year where you can just go make whatever you want and put it out there. And my mom was very crafty as a parent and would dress me up as, one year it was an octopus, another year it was an Oscar Mayer wiener. She encouraged us to decorate the house for Halloween, even though we got nobody at the end of a long, dark, wooded driveway. And so that was the time of year where the crafts came out and you made stuff and so that's continued pretty much. There was a little lull when I thought I was an adult and I didn't dress up or decorate. But recently, a few years ago, it's like, why am I not? And it's a great time to make art because you have a deadline. It has to be up by October.
Right.
You have to decorate and then it has to come down. So if it doesn't look good, you don't have to leave it up all year. You take it down on November 1st. So it's a low stress way to be creative and make art.
Yeah, I think, was it before we were recording, FC Zinn said to us, Halloween is an artist's holiday.
Was that on air?
Were we recording? I can't remember, but I think that bears repeating, and I'd never thought of it that way.
It's true.
But it's so true what you just said.
Yeah,
it really is a
creative holiday.
Yeah,
because people like to dress up. People make their own costumes, and they can step outside of themselves and try on new fun identities for the evening or whatnot. Or like as you say, decorate your house. Nobody thinks you're weird, especially if you leave it up year round.
Yeah, Lindsey the Celtic Fairy. We know. I think I'm detecting a connection to some of the cultural roots of Halloween with you. Is that what drove you to want to come and talk about Halloween? Is there something else about Halloween that you really love that compelled you to want to talk about it with us?
Honestly, I I just have always loved it. I kind of the same thing. Like my mom always made my costume, and I would always change my mind at the last minute and be a witch. So she would have to make one costume for school and then another, and then I'd just be a witch. We also like didn't have a lot of candy growing up in my house. And so it was just kind of an excuse to just go sugar crazy and just get all the possible candy you could. I used to like draw out maps of like the houses and make sure that I'm a planner. That's kind of who I am. So I would draw out maps and make sure we hit all the houses. But I also grew up in a log house on the end of on a main road on like a super long driveway. We never got trick-or-treaters. So I had to kind of rely on my friends to kind of continue the fun. And now I've, made my children suffer the same fate where we also live at the top of a very long road. Nobody comes up here. So we go elsewhere. But I love it. Like I have 3 little girls and I've been making their costumes literally since they were babies. That was like the most exciting thing I could think to do. And I never thought about it that way as an artist holiday, but it's totally right. It's a really fun chance to be creative. My husband hates Halloween, we just found out, and my girls are like very concerned about that, and they keep going, Daddy, you're not like Halloween. I don't understand it.
He better start liking Halloween.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
They like beyond their comprehension. And I think when my oldest daughter was really little, and I realized she was actually a little scared of the concept of Halloween. So I started her out with like Sesame Street Halloween stuff to just kind of get it in her head. I just didn't want to get out there to do trick-or-treating and have her just freak out because everybody was dressed up. And now she loves it. So hopefully, we'll carry that on. Like I have 2 separate sets of costumes for them this year. I get so into it. I love it.
That's awesome. Hell Unicorn. I'm sorry, I'm going to slip up and call you your other podcast name. I apologize. Do you have a Halloween memory that sticks in your mind when you think about Halloween? It could be from something when you were a lot younger. It could be something really recent. Do you have like a special Halloween memory?
This one's pretty recent, but so last year during Halloween, we were in shutdown. So me and my neighbor decided, hey, let's dress up as coronavirus and hand sanitizer. So we did that, and it was really fun.
Yeah.
And we hung out in the backyard, and we ate a lot of candy. So that was fun.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that memory. Chris, when you think about Halloween, do you have a memory that really sticks in your mind? It could be from when you were a kid. It could be from when you are an adult. I know you have children. Just curious
go ahead. For me now, it's definitely having the kids to work on, because I used to always like to just be a dead guy, not necessarily a zombie, just like a horrifically mangled dead person with blood everywhere and all kinds of stuff. I used to love to do that to myself. When I had kids, it was like, oh, I got like little pallets here, and or little canvases here, and I would just make them into little zombies. So every year it was a blast to make them look worse and worse, and just put the pictures out and let like my relatives see them and be horrified at what I did to my kids. And I love it. And they thought it was great too. And I remember, I think I did one of our kids, the first time I did it to them, they saw themselves in the mirror and they were scared and they cried.
That's funny. Yeah. FC Zinn, what about you? Do you have a special Halloween memory when you think back or think recently too?
Yeah. There's there's an ancient memory, like the origin story of why I'm so terrified by it. If you remember the early 70s costumes they would sell at Kmart for kids, that were these little plastic faces, and they were just
terrifying,
weird and abstract and terrifying. And I was over at a friend's house, and he wanted to show me his new Halloween, so he popped out from behind some door or other wearing this terrifying skull mask, and I like freaked out, turned around, buried my face in his parents' bed, and ended up getting a nosebleed. And totally,
Oh my God.
bleeding. Not too much, but over time, the story should involve copious amounts of blood, but it wasn't that. And that sort of started this whole thing of being terrified of scary faces and skulls and things. So whenever I think of Halloween, it was like that moment of just absolute terror when my friend suddenly was corpsed, kind of like one of Chris's kids.
Yeah. What about you, Stomping Jen? Do you have a Halloween memory?
A Halloween memory.
Yeah. I'll let you think about it. I have one. I must have been 4 or 5, and I remember it was on Halloween, and my brother, who is 3.5 years older than me, took me and said, I need to take you down to the basement and show you what I found. I found the horn of the devil.
No.
Yeah. So right. There's a lot in this scenario that's wrong for a 4-year-old. He takes me by the hand, leads me down there, and there's like a wooden crib, an old wooden crib sitting there. And he goes, now reach in there. So I reached in there, and there was a hot, like, thing in there, hot, like, cylinder. And I think I freaked out. I burned my hand and I ran away. I'd been terrified. And it turns out it was a curling iron.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he'd plugged this curling iron in and told me it was the horn of the devil.
Oh my God.
It had me grab it. I have this memory, and now he may listen to this and be like, that's total BS, Sawtooth. But I have this memory.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, not funny. Funny,
Yeah.
not funny.
Anyways, that's one of my early, like, terrifying memories. But it didn't scare me off of Halloween permanently.
That's interesting.
Yeah. What about you, Lindsey the Celtic Fairy? Any special Halloween memories?
Not really. I mean, all mine are like happy, jolly Halloween memories, which is probably why I like it so much. No, my mom always used to make like popcorn balls, which used to be the traditional thing you'd make. And those were super good. And it was one of those things that you only got them once a year. I remember I'm not a patient person, and I'm the youngest by like almost a decade between my sisters and I. And I remember we'd always have pizza on Halloween night, and I would just every 5 minutes be like, can we go yet? Can we go yet? Oh, the candy's going to be gone. Like, we need to go right now. And my mom just being like, no, can't go until it's dark. And I just like I couldn't stand it. But we used to I remember my friends coming over the day after, and we used to do a candy swap. And that was really fun. But probably the best, like, I guess it's a memory. But my mother one year, I think I was probably like 7 or 8, made me this beautiful cape, like a witch's cape. And it had like this purple fabric with like jack-o'-lanterns and cats on one side. And then it had a big hood, and the inside was lined with like shiny gold, like silk. And then the inside of the other part was black. And that cape, I still wear to this day. She made it so long. It's like beautiful. She did such a nice job on it. It went with my sisters to college. Like,
you still have it?
Yeah, she
still have
where
it.
is it?
I still.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I want to see this cape.
That's crazy.
I could go get it. Actually, I
go get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I can put my glasses on.
Well, Lindsey the Celtic Fairy goes and gets her cape. Did you have a memory, Stomping Jen?
So when I was a kid,
yeah.
So I grew up in New Jersey,
right?
And we were Jewish, which we've talked about before. So my father, in all of his Jewishness, was not very happy that we ever wanted to do Halloween. He disapproved highly of Halloween.
Yeah.
So we used to go. So trick-or-treating was a lot different in New Jersey too. I don't know if it's different. I'm going to ask that question actually.
Yeah.
Because like kids would go trick-or-treating during the day when they got home from school, basically.
Yeah.
And then at night, it was only like teenagers, maybe you'd get like people coming to your door.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that?
So it's interesting because there's another Jewish holiday where you're supposed to dress up called Purim, which is in the spring. And so my dad took that very seriously. And
right.
so I have a costume memory of being little, and they dressed me up as what's the Senor Gonzalez, the little mouse character from Looney Tunes? Speedy Gonzalez. And he had a big Mexican sombrero hat that he had gotten somewhere. I don't know where he still has them, I think, still in his house somewhere. And he dressed me up as Speedy Gonzalez.
For Halloween or Purim?
It was for Purim.
Okay. When we do our Purim Spectacular...
wait, it's related because he was never happy that we ever wanted to do our trick-or-treat. We didn't really trick-or-treat very much, is my point.
Well, I think it's interesting because I think maybe there's an assumption that everybody does, celebrate Halloween, and that's not the case. So I appreciate you bringing that up and telling us about this.
It's interesting too, because like my father would just always say it's like a Christian holiday, mainly, even though it's very secular.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's an assumption. I think that's not right.
Yeah, so and plus it's really like, I mean, if you really want to get nitty gritty, it's a Wiccan holiday, like a pagan.
Celtic.
Well, that's Samhain. So we didn't talk about that, Lindsay. So what's the difference between the word that you said that I will never be able to say because it's Gaelic versus Samhain?
So that's what it is. It's just, you're just pronouncing it
wrong. That's how it's spelled.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how it looks like Samhain, but it's pronounced Samhain.
Got it.
All right, and I want to just point out, Lindsey the Celtic Fairy has returned with her cape, and it is gorgeous. Look at that thing.
It's beautiful.
That's amazing.
Very nice, and
as a hood.
When you're trick or treating in New England, I mean snow, and like I remember, I have this memory of my friend dressed up as the Little Mermaid, and she had like a teal sweatsuit underneath her costume because it's so cold. Like it's so cold usually here on Halloween. So this thing's awesome because it's nice to throw on and be warm. Mm-hmm. So good to have. Yeah, thanks. It's around forever. I'm going to keep it forever. It only comes out on Halloween and I'll pass it on to my girls someday.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. You brought up trick-or-treating, Stomping Jen. And so did you trick or treat even though you didn't wear costumes? Like, did you?
No, but I did wear costumes. That's the other thing. So like I say that, but like my dad disapproved. Okay. But we would sometimes go out. Okay,
but you did celebrate Halloween.
And like we always had candy for the trick-or-treaters.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Because we lived in neighborhoods too in Jersey. It was like the suburbs, right? Like it wasn't, there were sidewalks. It wasn't like where we are, where there's like no sidewalk. It was like a neighborhood.
Yeah, and
you don't want the trick part if you don't have candy.
Right? Yeah.
Hell Unicorn. I have a question for you. If you want to sit up and talk into the microphone for a second. Thinking about trick or treating, when is too old? When should people stop trick-or-treating? 10?
When?
You should never stop trick-or-treating.
Oh, but do adults trick-or-treat?
Well, yes, in the sense that you tag along.
Oh, we tag along.
Right.
That's why I had babies.
Right, trick-or-treat.
I had babies so that I could dress them up and, push them around and trick-or-treat.
Now, what about teenagers, Hell Unicorn? Is there a cutoff age for trick-or-treating?
I don't think there is, unless you're Ted.
Okay, Ted is your brother, also a infrequent podcast guest. Let's go to some of our other guests here. I want to ask Chris, do you have any thoughts on when it's too old to be knocking on doors asking for candy?
Probably when you can drive yourself to the place you're going to go trick-or-treating.
That's a good.
Yep. I think that's a good rule of thumb because usually around then you're going to a party instead.
Yeah.
Or, partying in the woods like back in the day we used to do. But 16, 17. If a kid shows up and they're a teenager and they are earnestly trick-or-treating, I'm not going to deny them. They're out. They're having a good time. If they were anything like I was, they weren't trick-or-treating. They were running around causing trouble.
Okay. FC, now, are we carding people at your door? Are we trying to make a determination of age? When do you have any thoughts on this?
I was going to make a joke about sometime around your bar mitzvah might be a good time to stop.
Okay.
I think both of our kids stopped around that time just naturally. I think the parents were ready and raring to go out trick-or-treating, and they're like, nah, I'm good. So there was a natural cutoff for our kids. Mm-hmm. But if someone shows up at the door, I don't care how tall they are, if they put effort into a costume, it's like, sure, take it all.
Okay. Lindsey the Celtic Fairy, what are we thinking about this? Should there be age restrictions on trick-or-treating?
No, I think it's all just like, if you're being fun about it and you're being like polite, although really the tradition is to like literally just raise hell, like just kind of be wild. I don't know if anyone's ever seen Meet Me in St. Louis, but there's a really great, oh, come on, everyone. There's a really great scene where it's Halloween night. And I mean, you're looking at, I think it's like the 1920s, when that movie is supposed to take place. And they're literally like throwing furniture on a bonfire. And it's like they're throwing flour in people's faces. And the girls are dressed up as like drunken men. And the boys are dressed up as like these big buxom women. Like, it's very strange. It's very like, but it got so out of hand at one point, I think, in the history of it, that they went, okay, let's turn this around a little bit, because otherwise it's a night of like chaos. And so now I think if you're going out and you're having a good time and you, again, put effort into a costume and you're being polite and you're like letting everybody wait their turn to get their candy and making sure the little kids are, not being pulled over. Yeah. I'm going to give you candy if you show up and you're 18 and you're dressed up for Halloween. So I kind of expect candy too.
Interesting.
So no, I don't think there's a cutoff. I do think I stopped myself at 14. So
yeah,
I think that was about when I stopped.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Stomping Jen? What are your thoughts? Should there be an age restriction on this trick-or-treating?
Yeah, no, I agree with the panel.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, right, like you're going to parties, like you're not.
Yeah, I'm just going to point out we lost Hell Unicorn.
Yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, they fell. They went back to the underworld.
Yeah, they're gone.
Stomping Jen, you mentioned something, and I was horrified to hear this about trick-or-treating in the daylight.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine this. I think that's wrong.
I don't know. That's the way it is in where I grew up.
Does anybody else have thoughts about this?
Didn't they trick-or-treat in the daytime in E.T.? Mm-hmm. I vaguely remember the kids were trick-or-treating in the daytime in E.T., and I remember watching that as a kid going, what the heck is this? You don't do that. That's not right.
Well, that's why it's always funny when like people move to this area, like on the like local forums, and they're always like, when is trick-or-treating? Because it's true, in some communities they don't have trick-or-treating. They have set times for trick-or-treating. It may not be on Halloween, it might be different days. I don't know. It's just, it's not always Halloween evening.
Is that like a town mandated type of thing? Like the town set that up, or like does everybody just kind of agree? Like, we're going to do it this day at 4.
I think sometimes it's a town mandate. Sometimes
we've had our mayor cancel it.
Oh, really?
Oh,
weather stuff.
When we lived in a different town, I was so excited because we finally lived in like a semi neighborhood to pass out candy, and my neighbor was like, "Oh, trick or treating is tonight," and I was like, "What? It's like the 29th. You can't just do that. No, it's not." I was so curious about it. I'm more upset about like not trick-or-treating on actual Halloween. If you want to have like Halloween events at other times, that's fine. But no, you're not allowed to change Halloween. Halloween is Halloween. You can't change the date of it. So I get the like going out because it's very dangerous. I mean, be super careful. And it is so dark. And like my kids go to bed at like 7:30. So it's dark super early now. But actually, I watch a lot of Bewitched. And in that show, you know, in the 60s, I don't know if it was the 60s, or I don't know if you see it a lot in movies or shows because it's easier to film than trying to film it during the daytime. But there's like a light out and I'm like, what is this? Mm-hmm. But I wasn't sure. Like, okay, is it a filming thing where it's like almost impossible to film all of this at night and be able to see it, especially given the technology at the time? Or is it they just go trick like back in the 60s, or they were in California, they maybe just went early? I don't know. Yeah. I don't mind that as long as you don't change the date.
Yeah. Now, has anybody here ever performed a trick because they did not get a treat?
No. Never.
Well, there's implied that if you don't get a treat, there's
trick or a treat.
Going to be a trick.
Sounds like FC had something.
Oh, FC, please tell us.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying, nope, never would. It was too much of a goody.
No tricks up your sleeve.
No tricks up my sleeve.
Anyone else?
Chris sounds like he was a troublemaker.
I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about on the radio. No, on the podcast. Yeah, no, I don't know. We were not. When I was 15, 16, 17, 16, I guess was probably where I stopped being a total ass as a kid. Yeah, we did, you know, eggs and toilet paper and smashed pumpkins, and we were just general jerks. But we had fun at the time. I mean, it was exciting, and it was, you know, there was always the risk of getting caught, and you're constantly running away from everything that you just did. And it was fun at the time, but it was, if I could go back, I'd give myself a dope slap.
Yeah. I mean, let me just say, you're not alone. Stomping Jen did all of that destructive stuff as well.
What are you talking about? I think that was you.
Yeah, no, I definitely did. Yeah, no, that was my lived experience as a teenager. And I recognize now that it's awful.
As an adult,
yes. But we definitely would grab a pumpkin off a porch and destroy it. And we had eggs. Awful. And I even remember, you know, we would turn it into a whole thing, like who's going to go out and get the eggs. And there was a point like a day or two before where they wouldn't sell eggs to kids.
Yep, yeah, that's right.
And I got shut down on more than one Halloween trying to obtain eggs. And we always waited to the last minute, of course. And shaving cream, we did the whole thing. Like, I know, it's terrible.
You're awful.
I know. But now, you know, 32 years later, what damage was really done, Stomping Jen? Let's contemplate that.
You might have scarred some poor people for life.
Yeah.
You never know.
All right. Lindsey,
Did you ever see that? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask Lindsey the Celtic Fairy. Could you say that again, please?
Have you ever tried to clean dried egg off of anything?
Yeah.
It's not easy to do. I have chickens. I know all about it. Yeah, cleaning like raw egg off of like a house. It's, you know.
I'm just.
That should have been your like.
Yeah, go ahead.
Isn't that Sorry, there was a little bit of technological.
Yeah, we cut in and out from the fairy world for a second. Go ahead.
I just like now I have this scene from You Can't Buy Me Love in my head where you shit on my
What happened?
There's like this whole scene that happens at Halloween.
That's a heartbreaking scene. That's
It's like you shit on my. I was like, do you know this movie? You Can't Buy Me Love?
You're not finishing the sentence.
That's because Chris knows what I'm talking.
But I want to know. Tell me. You shit on what?
On my house.
Oh, somebody did that on Halloween?
No. It was like a whole thing, yeah. Because like it's like a whole thing about like how this like nerd got cool.
Yeah.
And then so his nerd friend like. So he does this awful thing and they always do it to this one family, and it was like his house, and he didn't know that, and so the friend's mad at him, and he's like, "You shit on my house, you shit."
Yeah, I don't like that. I think Halloween pranks should fall into the mischief category. That's what I think. Yeah.
No shit involved.
Yeah.
Just nasty egg.
And I think eggs, I was just going to acknowledge eggs probably cross the line.
So toilet paper is
Yeah,
probably a
definitely.
lot better.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, FC. Yep.
In southeastern Michigan, when I was growing up, the night before Halloween was called Devil's Night. And I don't know that I've found it anywhere out here, but that was the night that you did destructive stuff.
That's right. Mischief
and that
night.
was the night that there were like fires all across Detroit.
Oh my God.
To the point where, the fire departments were just totally occupied for a whole night with people setting fires to all the empty houses and garages and things.
Wow.
So they kind of moved the most destructive stuff to the night before, and then Halloween itself was this happy little kids holiday. So.
Devil's Night.
We had Mischief Night.
You did?
Yeah.
Was it the night before Halloween?
Yeah. No, yeah, that
Did you engage in mischief?
No.
Yeah, see, we didn't. We did everything on Halloween. We would go out on Halloween and cause trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, now Chris and I are both New Englanders. We grew up here. And Chris, you grew up near Boston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. It must be a thing out there.
But you grew up in so close to the Mecca.
Well, I grew up in actual Salem, Massachusetts.
That's true.
Where they hung the witches. It's called Danvers, Massachusetts. That was Old Salem.
Old Salem.
And then Salem got wise, what's called Salem now, and became Salem, and then capitalized on the whole Halloween thing.
Yeah, except they get inundated.
Yeah.
I've never been anywhere near that place on actual Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been to Salem because my uncle traced we can trace on my mother's side our relatives back to the Mayflower. And also one of my relatives was killed during the Salem witch trials. And I've never been to the place that she died because I do believe in the supernatural, but I don't want to touch it. I don't want to encourage any spirits to come with me. So I've never been, and I don't think I will ever go. I don't want to touch that horrible, horrible part of the past. So.
Yeah, I will say they did erect a monument, like a memorial there to the people who were hanged. Mm-hmm. So you can go and see that. Yeah, and
that's crazy, Lindsay.
Yeah. Now, would you ever not give a child a candy because they didn't say trick or treat?
No.
That's ridiculous.
That's a legitimate question. You're asking
legit. That's stupid.
I'm
monster insist.
I'm with Lindsay. Yeah, if you don't say trick or treat, go ahead, Lindsay, please.
No, not that I've had the opportunity. I've actually I was kind of a nerd in high school, so I didn't go to parties on Halloween. I went to other people's houses that lived in neighborhoods and passed out candy to their parents because I love it so much. Mm-hmm. And I was not into parties. And if the kids didn't say it, I would gently encourage them. But if they were rude about it, I'd be like, I'm not giving that to you until you do something. You got to do a trick for me or move along. But yeah, I'm pretty hardcore on that. I'm also very hardcore on manners, with my own children. So I'm sure that's probably where that comes from. But if they're just shy, little kids also have this thing, especially really little kids. If you give them something, it's not that they're being impolite. They just peace out and they're so overwhelmed looking at the thing, especially if it's their first trick or treating. They're like, oh my God, I just got candy for nothing.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I do like
our eldest.
I'll cut them off.
Yeah, go ahead, FC.
Our eldest lasted one house his first year. He walked up to the house. The guy handed him a full-size candy bar, and he's like, "I'm done. This is great. Let's go home."
All right, so I'm the only one who would not give candy. I believe you have to say that to get candy. Now, speaking of candy, what is the best Halloween candy?
Oh God,
the best.
I don't know.
I know the answer.
You know the answer?
I do, but I want to ask
full-size candy bars.
Yeah, I want to ask other people. No, you're wrong. It's not the best Halloween candy. Let's ask FC Zinn. What is the best Halloween candy?
The best Halloween candy. Well, they all give me a headache, so I'm happy to buy a whole bunch and give it away.
There you go.
The popular stuff is always the Reese's and the Snickers. You usually don't have any of those left by the end of the night. Mm-hmm. And when I was a kid, we all knew which house gave out the full-size candy bars. So there's a vote there for the full-size candy bars.
Full-size candy bars.
Okay. Chris, thoughts on this? The best Halloween candy?
All right. To get trick-or-treating is the Reese's for sure. And then this is going to be very controversial. Everybody hates it apparently, but candy corn.
I love candy corn.
What did you call them?
Chicken feet.
Chicken feet.
Yeah.
Chicken feet. I could eat that stuff by the bag full, but that's not something I don't want to. I don't want to get a handful of candy corn.
Oh no.
Yeah. Lindsay, do you have thoughts on the best Halloween candy?
Oh, do I ever? I would also like to say that when I was pregnant with my daughter, I was still in my first trimester, and I literally bought a bag of Halloween candy and then threw it all up.
Oh God!
Absolutely 100% Reese's, but particularly the pumpkin-shaped Reese's because they have more peanut butter in them.
Huh?
That's awesome.
Something about the pumpkin shape. Yeah, go ahead.
Also Twix.
I like Twix.
And I do love candy corn, but I'm with Chris. I don't want to get candy corn treating that seems odd. I just want to buy it and need it.
Yeah.
I have to tell you all. So every year,
go ahead.
I have a big glass pumpkin with a lid, like a cookie.
Yeah.
Like a cookie storage container.
Yeah.
And I buy 2 bags of candy corn and I dump all of it in this big thing and I eat a handful of it practically every day until it's gone.
And do you know what happens every night?
He throws up.
Yeah,
No,
Stomping Jen eats the handful of candy corn and without fail goes, why did I do that?
There's so much sugar in it.
Yeah.
It's just like a total sugar. And then you can't stop, but then you have to stop because then your stomach starts hurting. It's terrible.
Yeah. Are you ready to hear what the best Halloween candy is?
Oh, I forgot. You haven't got
Lindsay
it.
almost got it. Well, partially got it right. Twix is the second best Halloween candy.
I know what it is. Already.
What?
Your Whoppers.
What?
Whoppers.
How dare you,
Can I just say
Lindsay?
my issue with Whoppers?
Yeah.
Okay. So real chocolate covered malt balls are so good. And Whoppers taste like plastic. They're just pale imitations of real chocolate covered malt balls.
No.
Yes.
You're wrong. They're delicious. They come in that little package that you can squeeze with your fingers and they shoot into your mouth. You don't even have to touch them with your hands.
Oh, boy.
Right? That's the best part of it. Is the delivery of the candy.
Mm-hmm.
Just squeeze it. It's like a multi chocolate zit. It just pops right into your mouth.
So nasty.
Oh, I love them. They're the best. And I take them from my children and I hoard them.
You know what the new candy is
What?
that I like? That's only come out in the last couple of years. I don't know how old they are. But the Milky Way Darks.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good.
They are really good. I prefer them frozen.
I know you always you like all your chocolate frozen though.
That's true. I do.
Yeah, but I do like the Milky Way Darks. Those are really good.
All right. I'm getting hungry talking about candy. I want to talk about Halloween decorations really quick. What do you all do for Halloween decorations? What are your favorite Halloween decorations? Let's go to FC. Let's start with him.
So I think I mentioned the years ago I used Halloween as a way to jumpstart making art.
Yeah.
So every year I take this long porch along one whole side of the house and I hand paint a diorama that takes up the entire porch. It faces a street. The street we live on has a cemetery across the way, which limits my choices for Halloween because anything with tombstones or corpses would be redundant. at this point. So every year it's like, what can I do other than typical? So one year it was a bunch of mice in a lab animating a giant Frankenstein kitten. There's another year it was there was a pirate ship being attacked by a giant octopus, and then a couple weeks later, this lifeboat full of pirate pugs appears crashing on a beach. So every year I start decorating around February, or I start working on the decorations around February.
That's awesome.
And paint all through the summer, and then try to get it up in stages. So that's what I do.
Yeah, and as an observer of these installations, they are really epic.
They are awesome.
And they are amazing. And I love that. I don't know if they're every year they are unique, but they are entirely unique creations. You'll see nothing like them. They're absolutely amazing.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one of my favorite things that we're not going to talk about this.
What?
So FC created the Goblin Circus that one year. Was that just 1 year you did that?
The Goblin Circus, was that there was a cryptid carousel.
You did a whole installation in Northampton.
Oh, right. I took over a little empty storefront one year.
Yeah.
And created an entire exhibit of the Halloween decorations. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. We went and visited.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
All right. Let's go. I want Lindsey, the Celtic Fairy. How do you decorate? What is your style? What's your favorite kind of decoration?
I like a lot of the vintage art, and I've been trying to find a little bit more of that because it's just, I don't know, the colors are really rich and traditional, and I find a lot of the newer stuff just to be kind of tacky. But you can find sometimes a lot of new stuff that is, modeled after vintage. So, I have a really beautiful beam in our living room, and I've got just kind of dark colors and tarnished metal and a lot of that going on. So I try to keep it pretty simple. I have a very old corn husk doll. I don't know if you guys know what those are.
No.
We had a corn husk angel on our tree my entire life growing up. I think my mom bought all of this season with corn husk dolls, but it's literally a doll made out of corn husks. And then they have a little wooden head. And they're just they dye them different colors and make these elaborate dresses out of them. They're kind of cool. They weigh nothing because it's made out of corn husk. So I have a witch, and then I have a lot of pumpkins and cats. And it's one of those things that I don't realize that I'm drawn to those things until I put up my Halloween decorations and I go, oh, okay, that's my style. Pumpkins and cats and witches. That's kind of I don't go for the blood and gore. I don't, get into that. I do have a skeleton, and his head fell off, so it hangs out near him. It's kind of like the headless horseman. I need to get a horse to go with him. But yeah, I like to do a lot of vintage, just really traditional, black and white and orange, and lots of pumpkins and lots of cats.
Cool. What about you, Chris? What's your Halloween decorating style?
So before I say anything, FC, I stalked you after you posted the picture for your porch, and I saw some of the other ones. They're so incredible. That cool. There's a Godzilla one with a cityscape, and Godzilla appeared at one point. That was awesome. It was so awesome. But yeah, no. So I like the kitschy stuff, the real cheap kind of some of the dollar store stuff, and I just keep accumulating more and more of it because it's so cheap. So every year, kind of whatever display we have gets a little bit bigger. Some things break and go away. So right now we just have cobwebs all over the bushes and some zombie arms sticking out of some bushes. And I have a lot of Halloween and horror themed stuff in my studio that I use anyway. And I just kind of have as decorations. So some of that stuff gets moved upstairs for people to see it in, public, or I guess, and then, put it out in front. And we have a new light show thing that they have that's popular right now, where it looks like there's the house is kind of in flames and they're kind of different colors. But yeah, I tend to like the cheap stuff. I think it's just reminds me of when we were kids, because a lot of our Halloween decorations were also really cheap. I mean, it was all stuff coming from like Zare and
Zare,
Bradley's. Yeah, Zare and like Bradley's and like Woolworths and stuff like that.
Yeah. My mother was super into like ceramics, like Halloween ceramics. Like she had a pretty deep collection of those things, and they would come out, you know, like the black cats, the pumpkins, all the, you know, like ceramic witches, and she would make them. And I keep thinking about FC and his characterization as Halloween as a creative like holiday. It's a time to make art and make things, and that was like definitely the experience in, you know, my house. My mother was a maker. She loved to make stuff, and she would do that every Halloween, like make things. Here at the Soft Serve Podcast Studios, we've developed a tradition. Going back a couple of years now, we buy those 5 foot tall skeletons that you can get. They're posable. You know, they have articulating arms, and you can get them like at Target. Every year we've picked one up and put it in the yard. I think we're up to 7 now.
No, there's only 5.
Nice.
Is there 5?
There's 5 and a cat.
Oh, 5. Okay. Yeah. And a skeleton cat. But this year we put them so they're all there. We have
the
longish driveway. So they're lining the driveway. I got some spotlights for them. So, you know, they're now all underlit by these spotlights. It's pretty cool. But the cool part, I think, is we leave them up all year. We never take them down.
We never take them down.
That's lovely.
Yeah, they all have names.
I told this story. One of Hell Unicorn's friends' parents came to pick them up, and this was like a month or so ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, some pretty interesting skeletons you got in your yard there. It's not quite Halloween. I was like, oh yeah, those stay up all year round.
Yeah.
We never take them down. We just add to them.
We don't bother taking them down.
Like, oh, that's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So anyways, and I don't think I'll take them down.
Well, it's interesting too, because like, Lindsay, I know you do this, and like we don't interior decorate like with the seasons. I know a lot of people do. So like Hell Unicorn said, we have a lot of skulls just in general, because I think it's just our general aesthetic. Like we're not like super like we do like horror. You like horror. We have a Dawn of the Dead poster, and we have a bunch of other stuff. But I think when we renovated our house and we were getting our aesthetic. What was our aesthetic at the time? You had a very specific aesthetic.
It was what's the name of that restaurant we like?
It was Mission Cantina.
Yeah, it was Mission Cantina chic. Was our style.
That was what we based our interior decorating style on.
Was Mission Cantina.
Mission Cantina with a lot of sugar skulls.
No, but I love all that. I love skulls. I love all of that dark imagery. You know, I love I don't want to scare anyone. I love like the imagery associated with Satanism. Like I love devils. I love Baphomet. Baphomet is the statue.
I know who he is.
Yeah, and I especially love the statue of Baphomet with the 2 children sitting on his lap, and he's reading the Satanic Bible to them. It's one of my favorite sculptures ever. But like, I love all of that dark stuff. Like, I'm just so fascinated by it.
Yeah. Yeah, you've always liked a lot of horror movies and whatnot. And
I had to ask one more decorating question of you all, and it goes back to these jack-o'-lanterns. Now, we have the simple jack-o'-lantern, right, which is the, maybe triangles or circles for eyes and, jagged mouth. And then we have these things that can only be described as sculptures, right, where you carve somehow people carve these very elaborate faces onto the front of the pumpkin.
Or just anything.
What do you all think about this? Do you have a preference? What kind of jack-o'-lantern do you prefer? Do you prefer the classic simple jack-o'-lantern or these more elaborate ones? I'm going to ask Lindsey the Celtic Fairy first.
I honestly love them all. I love art. I love things that I can't do, but other people do very well. Like I found my husband who carves wood is very good at carving pumpkins because it's like very similar. You can use the similar tools.
Oh yeah.
So I love all of it. They have like the competitions where they make on like the Food Network, where they take these huge, like 200-pound pumpkins and they make these elaborate scenes out of them. And that just like blows my mind. So I always have these ideas of doing crazy things and they usually end up like coming out terribly. And then my husband saves me at the last minute. But I love it all. And I love it en masse. Like I love lots and lots and lots and lots of jack-o'-lanterns. I love like the sparkly lights. If you can ever go to like a jack-o'-lantern walk, they have them at like, I think the Roger Williams Zoo does it. It's amazing. It's so beautiful. And to me, it's kind of the symbol of the season. There's nothing more Halloween traditional than a lantern, because you're sort of celebrating like the last little bit of light before you go into the dark season. So I love it. I love it when there's just like a ton of jack-o'-lanterns everywhere. It makes me so happy.
Yeah. Chris, do you have a favorite kind of jack-o'-lantern to carve? Simple, elaborate? Do you do both?
Yeah. No, I'm very bad at it. So I tend to stick. So I usually have my youngest draw whatever he wants me to make on the pumpkin, and those I can usually manage because, he's 11. So no, but I love the elaborate pumpkins. I think they're incredible. I wish I could do something like that. I've attempted it and it's always been a miserable failure. So they just end up being, traditional, somewhat pumpkins.
Yeah. What about you, FC? Do you carve pumpkins, and how do you approach this?
Yeah, when I've been able to carve them, I'll do the whole carving thing. I really appreciate the simple ones because, it doesn't take as long. One year I ended up collaborating with a squirrel because I did a pumpkin, a very nice little smiley pumpkin, and a squirrel came along and just chewed a hole in the side of its face.
Oh, no.
So I got a small pumpkin and I carved it with these vicious little, three-dimensionally carved, realistic looking, just shark teeth, and stuck it in the hole as if it was chewing its way out of the guy. So that was probably the best of the bunch. So
wow,
so creative. See,
what a way to roll with fate.
Creativity. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm just a simple triangles kind of.
I saw a crazy video on the internet.
Yeah,
where somebody took like a pressure washer, like and used it to carve jack-o'-lantern. And they were like, "Oh, see how easy it is?" And it was like super fast. And then they showed the back of it, and they were like, "It didn't even get destroyed. No, it didn't go through. It was crazy."
That's weird.
Wow.
I just want to ask real quick about Halloween movies, shows, scary, otherwise. Do you have a favorite? FC, what about you? Do you have a? I feel like I might know your answer, but I'm not sure.
Really?
Possibly.
I'm trying to remember. Well,
I was going to guess the Peanuts.
Oh yeah.
What is it?
Charles M. Schultz.
The Charlie Brown
Halloween special. Yeah,
is like the best holiday special ever made. So yeah,
the Great Pumpkin.
The Great
yes. It is. The Great
Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, the Great. Yeah, with the different ghosts, and Charlie Brown can't use his scissors, so he ends up being all holes, not just two eye holes. He's covered in. That's right. Yeah,
and the Pigpen character's walking along dressed as a ghost with a little cloud of dust following him. So and poor Linus trying to convince everybody to hang out in the pumpkin patch. That one, like every year we'd have to make sure we were home for that one.
Yeah.
Because, back in those days, you had to be in front of the TV.
Right.
That's right.
There was none of this on-demand streamy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. If you think of another one, let us know. Lindsay, do you have a favorite Halloween?
I can guess her favorite.
Halloween related. I think I know the answer too, but I'm not going to guess.
Honestly, I have a list. Like I own like an entire collection of movies that I watch like on Halloween. That's like I have like a whole trunk of them, and they range from like Queen of the Damned and The Covenant, which are, lesser known horror movies, I guess you'd call them. I love The Mummy. The Mummy is one of my favorite movies. And then I love Sleepy Hollow. It's probably actually my favorite. And then you have like Hocus Pocus, obviously, which I still can't believe Stomp and Jen has never seen. I like literally blows my mind that she's never seen. I can't even.
We're gonna fix that soon, though.
I know.
Right?
I know.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Chris? Favorite Halloween-related movies
Okay, so I usually in
or shows?
Halloween time I try to go through a lot of the classics that I grew up with, which like I mentioned before, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, the series there, and then I try to watch something that I haven't seen before. I attempted to watch the 2018 Halloween movie the other day, and as soon as I put it on, for some reason, our puppy just started going crazy, barking at the TV screen. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to watch this right now. Yeah, I watched them all, everything that was out from probably like 1980 until about 1995. I think I saw like every horror movie there was, and I loved them all. And at some point, something switched in my brain, and I became too chicken to watch them. And I would read the Wikipedia synopsises of them all, like I described, and that's how I would discover if I was going to be able to watch it or not. I listen to some horror podcasts too, and they kind of go through the entire plot of the thing. And then I'm like, okay, I think I can handle that one, so I'll watch it. But my absolute favorite traditional current Halloween thing in my family, we've been watching this since it came out. So I forget how long it's been now, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago on Cartoon Network. There was this short mini series that came out called Over the Garden Wall. And it is the best Halloween themed anything, and it's not scary. It was made. It's not for little kids, but it's one of those things that when everyone's around, all of us together, we're like, "Do you want to watch it?" And it's 5 10-minute episodes that are just gorgeous. It's about these two brothers, an older brother and a younger brother. I think it's set in the 80s, and they are out for the night on Halloween, and they're in a graveyard, and something happens. I think the police show up. And the kids get scared. They're going to run from the police, and they go over this wall and fall. And then they wake up, and they are in this dark forest. And then it goes from there. And I really don't want to give any of it away because it's beautiful. It's funny. It's one of those things where once you see it, you go, oh, you know why people love it as much as they do. But it's called Over the Garden Wall, and I can't recommend it highly enough to anybody.
Over the Garden Wall. We'll add that to the list, Stomping Jen. As soon as I'm done binge watching The Sopranos.
Oh my god!
I think it's on HBO Max.
Okay, even better. I'll be right there for it. Do you have a favorite Halloween related thing?
Halloween. Well, I mean, this is a Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
This is Halloween.
Is that a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie?
It's a Halloween movie.
It is. Okay.
For sure. It's a Halloween movie.
Okay. You like that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what mine is.
I don't know, but I am not like Chris because we can watch horror movies all day long.
Yeah.
And I feel like there are ones that like I still haven't seen.
You've seen the Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah, no, for sure, because Johnny Depp is in it.
Yeah.
I mean, he dies within 10 minutes. But
yeah.
No, yeah, I've seen all like the Freddy movies. I don't know that I've watched many of the Jason movies. We've watched Texas Chainsaw.
I don't feel like those are like Halloween movies. They're good horror movies. If I was to pick my absolute favorite horror movies, it would be the George Romero first 3 Dead movies. Those are so amazing.
Yeah.
And then the best horror movie I've seen in the last 10 years is something called It Follows.
Oh God, you love that movie. I do not understand your obsession with that movie.
Mostly because it's the psychological horror of this thing just following people.
I swear to God.
I mean,
obsessed.
The movie is exactly what its title is.
Yes,
it's just about a thing that follows people, and it's horrifying.
But it's like a whole metaphor for like STDs.
I know.
Which is just like
I know.
But I don't know. We like the Purge movies. Those are great.
Oh, the Purge. Yeah, I mean, those are terrifying in a completely different way.
Yeah, psychological. More.
But those are good.
You know what's Hereditary? That movie like haunts me sometimes.
Hereditary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That movie's fucked up.
I watched a clip of that because I'd heard enough about it. And there's 2 scenes in that movie that I just...
Oh, no. It's horrid.
Yeah, there's the car scene. I had to watch that, and it was like torture, even though I knew it was coming. And then I had to watch the scene with the piano wire. and the neck, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I never saw this movie. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
It's super creepy. The Babadook was good. That's like more recent. The Ring, all those. Yeah.
I used to like horror movies, like the old campy horror movies. We went through, I had a group of friends in high school, and we sort of went back through like all the old horror movies. I mean, I'm talking like the original Dracula, like in black and white. And we got up to like the 80s, and then the very last horror movie I saw was The Hills Have Eyes. And that movie so psychologically disturbed me that I still have nightmares about it. It was the most upsetting thing ever, because most horror movies, like, they follow a traditional, thing, and it's like teenagers and they're stupid and it's not a big deal if they die. This was like a family, and it messed me up, and I can't watch horror movies anymore. But I do still love, like, if it's campy and it's, it's fun and it's just kind of pointless. Like, I still love those movies, but that movie ruined me.
We used to watch like Tales from the Crypt and like
those
that
are
kind of
good.
stuff.
And I'm thinking about The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I'm thinking about The Nightmare Before Christmas. And Halloween doesn't have to be about terror and murder. And, like, that's just,
Wait, you're just destroying the plot of Nightmare Before Christmas, which is they can't be anything but scary.
Is that what it's about?
Have you not seen this
I don't
movie?
know. I saw it in the theater when it came out. I haven't seen it since.
Scary, but it's not like
it's not scary.
But like fun scary. It's not like terrifying scary. Like, to me, I can't do I have no desire to be terrified out of my mind. But like fun, fun, creepy, like horror is fun. But like that's that's what they are. They can't help it. They're just scary and dead.
I will say the movie, and I've said this before, the movie that psychologically freaks me out the most is the movie they made off The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist.
Oh, yeah.
Just the end of that movie just fucks me up.
That story.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's such a good movie too, but then that part makes it hard to watch it again.
It's hard.
I want to ask.
It's a really.
go ahead. Yep.
Sorry.
Nope. Go.
One movie that came to mind that fits into the Charlie Brown Nightmare Before Christmas is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. Anybody? That one.
Old school.
It's like Abbott and Costello doing their thing, but it's like all of the classic movie monsters. They run into Frankenstein, Dracula, Wolfman, and they're all played by the people who played them in the movie.
Oh, really?
So it's like a mashup of, like, I forget the names of them, but the guy who did the Wolfman, the guy who was
Lon Chaney. One of them is Lon Chaney, right? Yeah.
And Bela Lugosi.
And Lugosi, and just this wonderful, just ridiculousness where it's all gags. Like there's a corpse in a box, and they're trying to move the box, and it keeps flopping.
Yeah.
Classic old stuff. That one's a great.
Yeah.
If you're looking for black and white soft horror, that one's lovely.
Yeah, so they can be fun, the shows and movies. Now, I want to ask, do you have a favorite Halloween costume that you've made for yourself or somebody else? It sticks out in your mind. Does anyone have a thought about that? I know what ours is, Stomping Jen.
I know what you're going to say.
What is it?
When we were in college.
College?
Oh, no.
Grad school?
Wait, which one are you talking about?
I was thinking one year we went I dressed as a lumberjack and Stomping Jen dressed as a tree.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did that.
And we had to throw this costume together in about 2 hours. Yeah. And somehow it worked.
Yeah, because you had like Garland at the time from like a Michaels type store.
Yeah, and I also had a flannel shirt, which you claimed I've never worn. On the last podcast, you claimed I've never worn a flannel shirt.
I don't think it was your flannel shirt.
Anyways, I just proved that I had flannel shirts.
You didn't have
so anyways, and then
I dressed in brown.
Yeah,
and I just wrapped the garland around my body.
But
that's excellent.
Everybody totally got it.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, you're a lumberjack in a tree. How cute."
Yeah.
Anyways,
I thought you were going to say the year we went as lesbians and you dressed up in my long velvety skirt and my platform boots and put makeup on.
let's just say that
That was in the 90s.
That costume was from a time and a place. I don't know that I would frame it in that way anymore.
Yes.
You know, but yes, I did dress as a woman. Yes. And I thought I looked very good too.
You did.
Thank you. I didn't have the beard.
You didn't use any of your spooky sound effects.
No, it's too hard to do and I'm lazy. And I enjoy talking to people more. Lindsay, do you have a favorite costume?
Well, last Halloween we actually went out. The twins were like babies. At some point I will dress them as Lucy and Ethel because I love Lucy. So naturally I will force that upon them at some point. I just have to figure out the timing on that. But last Halloween we went out, I was a Selkie. A Selkie is it's a Celtic, like, mythological creature.
It's a seal, right? It's
a seal.
Yeah.
It's like a seal version of a mermaid. So, but they wear like a seal skin and then they can take their seal skin off and walk on land. And I couldn't find one, which was really exciting to me because I was like, oh, I can kind of like do whatever I want. So I kind of did like seal makeup on my face and I got this big furry like gray robe and put spots on it. So it looked like an actual seal coat and I wore like a long black dress. So it kind of looked like a seal coat. And then my daughter, so it was all like, ocean themed. So my oldest, I made her a mermaid costume and I made her a felt crown that had like all these shells and gems and stuff on them. And the twins were Sebastian and Flounder. Dad really wanted my husband to be a fisherman, but he like refused to participate. And I also, we pulled the twins along in a wagon and I was trying to turn it into a boat. So it looked like they were in the boat, but I didn't have
them. Great costume. What about you, Chris? Do you have a favorite costume?
The best costume I ever did was for a Halloween party. I used to do the Rocky Horror Picture Show in Harvard Square in the 90s. And so the cast would have crazy parties, like Halloween parties, and everybody would do super elaborate costumes. And so like there's a lot of pressure. And this one, I think it was like 94, 95, I did Sandman and from the comic books. And I went out and I found this it was like material that you could see through. And now they make those masks that like they can pull over your whole face and it's just like a black, you can't see the person's face, but they can see through it.
Yeah.
And I cut out the material and I like glued it to my eyes with latex. So my eyes were just completely blacked out. And then my skin, was all pale white. And then my friend teased, I used to have long hair too. So my friend teased my hair all crazy like his. And then I put together this robe and everything like that. And it was by far the coolest costume I've ever made. I got a picture of it. There's like one picture of it somewhere.
Oh, you have to find
Scan it and send it to us.
You have to find it.
What about you, FC?
I'm looking at it hanging on the wall over there.
Describe it for us.
Well, one of my kids, I forget when, wanted me, they picked up one of those fashion faces masks that you get that are just like a blank female face. They sell them in Michael's. And I painted it like it was stone. And then they just put on this hood and they wore this mask around. And it was fascinating to watch because kids would walk by this little kid wearing this mask, wouldn't bother them, but the adults would freak out. Because you had this still face that was gray with cracks in it, with these really big child eyes just staring out through the holes in it. And adults could not handle it. And it would make an appearance for several years. One or the other of them would incorporate it into their costumes because I think they just loved staring at grown-ups and watching them.
That's funny.
Twitter.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, last question-ish.
Last question-ish.
Yeah, what are you doing for Halloween 2021? Stomping Jen, what are we doing?
I have no idea.
I'm
going to see Hocus Pocus with Lindsay and friends.
Aren't we doing some kind of Halloween-related thing?
We are. You're right. I forgot that we're doing that on Sunday.
Yeah. What is it?
We're going to Sturbridge Village to do some whatever they're doing at Sturbridge Village.
Oh, you're doing the fire and
Phantom
ghouls or
and
whatever.
Fire or something. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, I love Old Sturbridge Village. They did Sleepy Hollow for a couple of years, and we actually brought our daughter as an infant and put giant noise canceling headphones on her. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and do you get? Is it like a colonial type of?
I have no idea. I think there's some theater stuff involved, and I don't know. Friends of ours wanted to go, so we bought tickets, and I have no idea what to expect.
Are you wearing some kind of Halloween wig? Did you slip one on while I wasn't looking?
Are you talking about me right now?
Yeah, you did something. Your hair looks amazing.
What are you talking about?
Let me just say. Okay. Lindsay, what's your Halloween 2021 look like?
Well, on Saturday we're doing we're gonna have Hocus Pocus themed food. I love Halloween parties, man. It's so much. Our gender reveal for our twins was a Halloween party.
I heard you're pre-gaming Hocus Pocus with a party.
Yep, that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing Hocus Pocus themed food. Trista is my partner in crime, who she understands. She just understands me. So we're gonna have some fun food, and then all three of my children have now seen Hocus Pocus, which maybe seems inappropriate, but I explained it to them ahead of time that it's just people dressed up in costumes, and they were like, "Yeah, okay." So they are actually going to be the Sanderson sisters. They have little costumes, and they're totally into it. So we're gonna go to the drive-in and see it, and my in-laws may come out with my niece and nephew to join the festivities, which would be fun. Mm-hmm. And then because we live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, last year we did a scavenger hunt on the property for a few friends, which was fun, except that there was 6 inches of snow on the ground.
Oh God.
Yeah, that wasn't fun. But this year we usually go to, my husband is from Clinton, Mass, and his parents still live in the house that he grew up in. So, and they have great neighborhoods that are, cars have to drive slow anyway. So we go and we trick or treat in their neighborhoods, and kind of all go together. So that's really fun. So that's what we're going to do on Sunday.
That sounds fun. FC, I know you're working on, we're not going to reveal your address. We're going to keep that secret, but we know you're working on a porch installation. Is it done?
Yes, pretty much. If you drive by it, if you know where this is, you drive by it, every element has now emerged. It emerged week by week, and now it's all up. Now,
will this be the focus of your Halloween 2021? Do you have other plans? What are you doing? How are you going to celebrate Halloween?
Probably the way we got into this habit once the kids stopped wanting to get involved, where our downtown does trick-or-treating at the stores.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
And it becomes this during daylight.
Yeah.
And it becomes this amazing parade of costumes and families. And, you at least have 3 or 4 families dressed as the characters from Wizard of Oz. One year there was someone with an incredibly accurate Groot costume just walking around. So it's this lovely festive atmosphere. And so we just walk downtown, find a bench, and watch everybody go by.
That's so
nice. That sounds like fun.
We should go there.
It involves driving somewhere.
Yeah.
Chris, what are you planning? What's Halloween 2021 look like in the Bordenca household?
Our 2 oldest are at college now, and our youngest still trick-or-treats. So we will probably just take him out, go around the neighborhoods, get some candy, and try to get home as early as we can. Because as much as I love being out and seeing everyone's costumes, it's also nice to just be done trick-or-treating, come home, put on a scary movie, and introduce Willie to something that he's probably too young to watch. And see how much I can scar him.
That's awesome. So Hell Unicorn is no longer here, but we watched the Day of the Dead remake.
When?
With
Oh, it was
Dawn of the Dead.
Dawn of the Dead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead remake.
Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
Which is one of our favorite
It's really good, yeah.
because the like opening sequence is one of the best sequences ever.
Yeah.
And so we're watching this movie. We're like, are you okay? You okay? You okay? Just lots of check-ins. And then at the pinnacle peak climax of the movie, the goriest climax of the movie, they just burst out laughing hysterically on the floor, gut laughing about how ridiculous it was.
Yeah. Do you know who they remind me of? You. We were watching The Green Mile in the theater, and are you familiar with this movie, The Green Mile?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah. So we're in the theater watching it. We're coming up to like the emotional climax of the movie where they're going to electrocute John, the guy. Yeah. Sorry, spoiler alert. And they're walking through the whole thing. Stomping Jen over here just lets out this big sigh in the theater and goes, "Boy, would they just get on with it already?" And like people like shushed her. They're like, "Shh." And like I had loved Stephen King at that point and was waiting for this movie. Oh, it was just your timing was impeccable.
I'm so glad that you remember it. This very specific detail.
I'm glad Hell Unicorn inherited that from you. All right.
My point was not that. My point was that they were laughing hysterically at the gore in the movie.
Yeah.
And how ridiculous it was. All right, forget it. Whatever.
All right. No, it's a good point. What did you want to say about it? What more did you want to say?
Forget it. I'm done.
Okay, I think, yeah.
Done. You've ruined it by introducing the Green Mile debacle of 1995 or whatever.
97.
Sure.
Probably. All right. So I think I'm done with Halloween questions. So I just wanted to ask you all if you had anything you wanted to promote, talk about, not Halloween related. We can go around if you want to share anything. Chris, I know there was something you potentially wanted to let people know about.
Yeah, I have. So I have some paintings showing right now at the Quarters in Hadley, Mass. So you can go there and play some old school video games and check out some of my original paintings hanging up on the wall there.
How long are those going to be up for?
Indefinitely.
Okay.
Those guys are really cool. They like how everything looks there. And so I might be able to just kind of swap things in and out. I ran out of room in my own house, so it kind of works.
Okay.
And then in December, there's a small work show at Hope and Feathers in Amherst. And I've been working on a painting the entire time for that. It's sort of Halloween theme. It's wind-up Halloween toys.
Love it.
So this will be going in that show. Which isn't until December, but there you go. And also my website, it's chrisbordenca.com. So
and I will put a link to the Chris's website in the show notes if you want to look at that. And I encourage you to. Chris's artwork is amazing. So, cool. FC, anything special you wanted to tell us about?
Well, if anybody's interested in taking a look at what's been up on that porch, I'm mostly post on Instagram under FC Zinn, Z as in zebra, INN, as my father would say on the phone all the time. And from there, you can get to goblincircus.com, which is a website that gets updated less often than the Instagram.
All right, we'll put those links in the show notes too. Just making a note here. And definitely go check that out. FC Zinn is an amazing artist as well, and I will bleep that out. Don't worry. Making a note here. It will be a scary sound effect. Thank you, Stomping Jen. I might just copy that and put it in there. Lindsey. And I want to tell people, Lindsey's going to be joining us again here on the podcast soon to talk about a project that she's been working on. So why don't you tell us about that?
Well, I can't compare with these amazing artists, but my art medium is food. So I am writing a cookbook that should hopefully be done soon. We're kind of working on the finishing touches now. We're on layout work and such, and we're hoping to have it done for the holiday season. So it's literally been like my life for the last year. As Stompin' Jen knows, she's eaten many a full being photographed. Actually, probably my favorite photo from the cookbook is a contrast photo of Stompin' Jen's beautiful tattoos. And she's wearing a black dress, I think, actually, holding a like bright pink strawberry lemon trifle. It's just like that. It's the most beautiful artistic artwork by the lovely April Eve Images, who took all of the photos. This is really just as much April's book as it is mine. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's been my whole life, that and the farm and raising babies. But if you want to check out some of the food, and we'll be previewing some of the photos that didn't make it into the cookbook are going to start appearing on my Instagram. That's really where I do most of my posting. You can follow us at Oak and Ash Farm or at lindsey.oak.ash, which is kind of more my like, that's the more Lindsey side of things. I do like my homemaking, all that over there. Whereas like, Oak and Ash Farm is food and farm stuff. There's a lot of chickens and geese over there. So.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to talking to you about that project because I've kind of seen its development over the last year, from afar, and I've a lot of questions for you about that. And if you want to hear more from Lindsey and her husband about the farm, there are 2 episodes that we recorded with Lindsey about the farm, Oak and Ash Farm. So go check that out. Right, Stomping Jen?
Yeah, we also have an episode with Chris.
That's right. Thank you for mentioning that. I did mention Chris has been on here before. Another great episode.
Yes.
And Lindsey and Chris's episode are rank up there in the top of our locally downloaded podcasts.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Of local interest.
Well,
so.
we had something happen recently.
What?
We had the lovely April of April Eve Images came into the podcast studio and took glorious pictures of us.
Yeah. Now I want to talk about something. Before April came, and she's going to kill me when you probably told her all of this. I was panicking because I'm very, very unhappy with my current body image. Right. Let's just say COVID's been unkind to Sawtooth's physique. And I was like, Stomping Jen, we cannot have April come here and take pictures of me.
Until when?
What?
There was a specific goal you said.
What did I say?
You said, until I lose 20 pounds. And I said, that is not happening. I'm not waiting for you to lose 20 pounds.
Stomping Jen put her foot down. She said, enough of this nonsense. Get your shit together, Sawtooth. She's coming. Mm-hmm. Now you deal with this. And I did. So I just let it go. And April came and she took good pictures.
Of course she did, because she's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm quite happy with them.
Yes. And they'll be on our new website whenever we can get our shit
there's
together.
One condition.
No legs.
The pictures that show my legs cannot be shown. I don't like the way my legs look. But other than that,
that's because they were garishly lit from underneath from an LED light. Anyways,
all right.
We digress. We're away from Halloween, far away from Halloween.
All right,
which is just around the corner, and we all love Halloween, and that's what brought us together.
Can I play just a little spooky music?
You can definitely play spooky music.
All right. As I say thank yous to people.
This is not the right spooky music.
It is.
This is the same shitty music you play all the time.
This is fine.
Oh my god.
All right. I'll play some ghost music over it. Here we go. I'll play ghost music.
Play this other one.
Which one? There we go. All right. Listen, I promised you an hour and a half, and we've gone way over that. I want to say thank you. FC Zinn, thank you for a first appearance. I'd like to get you back on here someday, just you, and talk to you more. I don't feel like got to talk to you enough about your art. I don't want to talk to you more about your art. So
happy to come back.
Okay, great. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Lindsey, the Celtic Fairy, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your lid with us.
Yeah, thank you for giving us that history lesson at the beginning. I might even go back and delete what I was talking about.
You were a little rambly.
It's horrible. I was burning time. Maybe it'll be funny when I listen back to it. I don't know.
No, it's horrid.
Yeah. Thank you, Stomping Jen.
I love you.
So thank you, Lindsey. Always a pleasure. And I think you may be the person who's appeared here the most now. Mm-hmm. Is that true? 3 appearances? No, Shivering Jim. No, Shivering Jim and maybe Joshua Michael Stewart might have Lindsey beat. We'll see. But this is not a contest.
Yeah, he just made it into one. You see this?
Well,
he just laid down the gauntlet.
All right. Thank you, Lindsey. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chris Bordenca. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yes.
And, it's been a while. I'd love to get you back on here and talk more about your art, too.
Cool.
Cycle
Thanks,
back
guys.
for a second appearance, okay?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to beat around the bush. Listen, if you like our podcast, please subscribe, download the episodes, tell a friend about us if you're enjoying this, and look for our new website soon.
Yes.
Hopefully that will be up and you can get on there and check that out, okay?
Before the end of the year.
All right. Stomping Jen, I'm tired. I'm ending this. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Anything you want to say?
I want to say thank you to you.
What do you mean?
For doing all the research and all the work and all the stuff behind the scenes and pulling all the Halloween music into the board.
I just went on history.com. That's all I did. All right. Everybody, you want to go out with a like a boo or like a scary ghost noise, and we'll hit the intro music and we'll end this whole thing.
Okay.
All right. On the count of 3. Should we count them?
Yeah,
well, like boo, like that sort of thing.
Okay. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah.
All
Right. Because we could
Good-
say wait. We could say good boo eye. Yeah.
Good boy.
All right. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Boo. 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 I'm a scary ghost.
This world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed by the binding force of mutual respect and love. I shall never cease to do what little I can to help the world advance along that road.